Hi there, it's Josephine here again on my Good Enough Mum page. I thought what I'd talk about today is the idea of letting go of our children. We've been away on holiday and I've missed the start of school, but my sister-in-law has got her little boy starting nursery this afternoon, and she just reminded me of what it's like when our children begin to take these steps towards independence. And good luck, Charlotte, today. I hope it all goes well. So it just got me thinking really about letting go of our children. And one of the things that sort of strikes me about being a parent is we bring our children up to be independent. And unfortunately, it's a bit of a bittersweet experience. It's absolutely wonderful to see them grow and change and turn into the individuals that they are. And it's a beautiful discovery, I think. Their lives are a discovery of who they are. For us as parents, we watch that process happening and absolutely love that about having children. But also it's a bittersweet experience because as they grow up, they grow away from us. And however close we are, there comes a point where we have to let go of them. And I think parenting sometimes is a whole lot of mini goodbyes to that little person who was born, and from the moment they are born, they're actually developing independence and learning to run away from us, which is so sad. And we've just been away on holiday with two of our grown-up children, and we did have a really lovely time. It was great to be with them. And I was planning when we came back that we'd have a big family dinner with my other child, but in actual fact, both of them, by the end of the holiday, were saying, well, I've arranged to go and see this friend and I'm going out to do this as soon as I get home. And I sort of realised that although for us as parents, we absolutely love having our children with us, it gets to the point for them where they really need to be with their peers. Because after all, those are the people that they're going to be spending the rest of their lives with. Eventually, obviously, we're going to die as parents, and they have to forge their own way. And so it's really important for them to be forming those relationships that are going to sustain them. But it's hard, I think, for us as parents for that process to happen and to trust that they're going to be all right. And that's what I really wanted to talk about today, because I know that for many of my sort of age group, it's getting time for dropping children off at university, perhaps for the first time. And that's, I think, quite a huge thing for a parent to go through, and there's lots of different things going on in that. There's that sense of, will they be all right? And that is such a hard thing to cope with, especially when they first leave home and we drop them off. And what I wanted to say is, yes, that is really hard for us, but we need to keep our eye on the overall goal. And the goal is, in all our parenting, is that our children should grow up to be independent, to be able to look after themselves. And what I'd encourage people to think about is what their attitude's going to be as they drop their son or daughter off at university. What's going to really help their son or daughter? Is it really going to help them if the mum is sobbing in a corner, and if she's really worried about whether or not her child is going to cope when they're away? What sort of message does that give to the individual who's actually taking those first steps to leave home? What they actually need is they need their parents to be encouraging them, to be telling them that they can do it. And maybe if they have a little cry, the mum or the dad, to try and do it out of eyeshot of the child, so that the child just gets this great feeling that they're embarking on this new adventure. I've been thinking about it when I was thinking about this live feed, and I was remembering when I took my child, my first one, to university. He couldn't for some reason log onto the internet. We helped him set up his computer, but we couldn't help him log into the internet, and we spent so long. We spent probably a couple of hours faffing around trying to help him, and just sort of thinking, oh my God, what's it going to be like? I was so upset. I thought, oh no, he's not going to be able to do what he needs to do because he can't log into the internet. And it got to the point where there was everybody else had arrived and they were all gathering in the corridor, and I just suddenly got this feeling of you know what, we're not wanted any longer, we're actually getting in the way here. And we had to leave, and I was so upset. I cried on the way home. What's he going to do? He's not going to have his internet. I mean, it's so silly when you look back on it now. But you know what, the next day he got up and the internet was fine. It was just the number of people who were arriving at that point. And he actually survived. You know, he got through it. And it reminded me of another time. I think the problem is that we don't see our children as adults a lot of the time. When they're close to us, actually, I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you're around your parents, you sort of revert to your childhood or your sulky teenage self, and you actually aren't that capable and independent person that you know yourself to be when you're around your parents. And of course, as a parent, we only see our children as those, so in that sulky teenage mood or in that childish mood. We don't see them away from us when they're really able and capable. And it reminded me of another time where my son was going abroad and needed to get some money, some foreign currency, and I sort of thought I'd have to help him. He was about, I don't know, 19, 20 at this point. And you know, I dropped him off at the post office and I had to go and do another errand, but the queue was quite long, so I thought, well, I'll be back in time to help him when he goes up to the counter. In actual fact, he got to the counter a lot more quickly than I'd expected. By the time I came back, I sort of stood back and I could see this perfectly capable, rational adult getting currency at the post office window. And it was a real lesson to me, because I thought, you know, he is perfectly capable. I just need to allow him to be him. I need to stand back. And that's what I'd encourage you today, all you parents who are dropping your children off at university for the first time. Sometimes it is quite difficult. We dropped our middle one off, and we helped him stock up the fridge. And he'd gone down the night before, and my husband opened the fridge, and he said the fridge, it was a university student's fridge, because what it was full of was beer and bacon, because they'd had a party the night before, completely filled up this entire fridge with beer and wine and cider. And then they had several packs of bacon, because they'd obviously decided that that would be what they'd need the next day, is bacon butties. and that is a student fridge, it's beer and bacon. So, but they're quite happy like that. We might look at it and think, oh my goodness. But you know what, they had a party, some of them had got quite drunk, but they'd looked after each other, they'd checked up on each other, they'd been careful. And so, you know, they are adults, we can trust them. And take a deep breath and let them go on to this new part of their life. Let them go, because you'll be surprised at how capable they are. And I think the same applies however old our children are. They are ready for this next step. And obviously, it is difficult. There is a time of adjustment. I'm not saying they're going to fly from the moment they leave the nest, but they do learn. They will be capable. They will have to learn some life lessons. Another little story I was talking about was when I first left home, and I spent all my budget on clothes, and I had hardly any food. I had enough to eat in the mornings and evenings, but I never had enough for lunch. And I used to sit with my friend who was eating a sandwich and sort of stare hungrily at her sandwich, and I was absolutely starving at lunchtime. But that taught me a lesson quite quickly, to be careful with my budgeting, that I needed to allow money for food. And sometimes these lessons, the only way you have to learn them is the hard way. But, you know, I've never really struggled with my food shopping ever since. It was a good lesson to learn. So although it isn't easy, although there will be times where they have to learn, nevertheless, that's a lesson that they have to learn for themselves. There's some things that we can't teach them, and they have to learn it for themselves. And so we need to, however hard it is, let go and enable them to grow into the independent people that you spent all this time putting in good stuff. You've been giving them love. They will learn and they will survive. So I'm just going to leave you with that thought today, and thank you for watching. Bye.